Well, when you think about it, this is a person who I understand Queen Elizabeth said was evil.
Guys, if you missed part 1 of our interview with Peter Tickton, make sure to click on over there first. Without further ado, here is part 2.
I don't think
I was going to go there. This was the next thing I was going to ask about. Yeah, this is something you had brought up, right? Where she had allegedly told Catherine this?
Yeah, but I don't think that she thinks that Meghan Markle was just evil because of the way she dealt with Samantha. And I don't think that she thought she was evil just because of the incredibly terrible way that she dealt with her father. I think that Queen Elizabeth is a person who was of higher rank, who basically saw the world from a certain position. I got to tell you, as a person who's, like I'm only 54 years old, but I've been 54 for 24 years. And as we get older, okay, life is like climbing a hill that you are not allowed to stop climbing. You have to continue to climb. The bad part about it is that the back of the hill is a cliff. So sooner or later, you're going to go off the back part of it. Nobody's going to live forever. And for those that are afraid of dying, well, there's that cliff you can concentrate on if you want to. But for most people that are climbing the hill, the view gets better and better and better and better. You get to see life in a way that you can't even imagine when you're in your 30s. And it's just a matter of living long enough and you get there. But there's also another aspect of where you get to see life in a different way. And that's when you are climbing the scale of social height. And there's nothing higher than being the queen of the British Commonwealth, of what's left of the Commonwealth, but, what used to be the British Empire. Then you are on top of the world and the top of that hill in another way as well. And when you're looking out and you see somebody and you declare them to be evil, you're looking with eyes that have vision. And I think that she saw it. She saw that in her and I didn't know about it at first, but when you start putting that together with what's going on with the world, and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. I know the people that watch your show are, they kind of see through Meghan Markle, but I wouldn't be surprised if a number of your audience also are very concerned about vaccinations, concerned about the World Health Organization in May signing the accords that they're going to be signing, where they get to be sovereign in the event that they should decide in their wisdom that there's a pandemic occurring or a partial pandemic on the basis of whatever they want. I mean, we're coming into another world, and this world that we already have a step. We're already halfway there, more than that in some ways. I mean, there's a reason our media has been taken over. There's a reason that our social media, except for X, thanks to Elon Musk, it's a reason that our school systems have been taken over. There's a reason that no country in the world, in the United States, it is still free in terms of being able to speak. I mean, God help us. We know that, Jordan Peterson, for instance, is just an example. Canada used to be an extremely free country. They didn't have a constitution. They didn't have a Bill of Rights, but boy, they understood freedom, and they were a free country. But now, here you have a psychologist who basically criticizes Prime Minister Trudeau, and the next thing, because of that, is he has to go through re-education. That's no longer a free country. That's a country you're not allowed to make political speech.
I don't want to get into politics. Some could say the same thing about Trump. Let's not go there. The reality, though, is I agree. There's a lot of power moves and plays where a lot of the wealthy people, a lot of these corporations, you're 100% right, especially the big tech corporations, are controlling us in ways that are scary. And I wasn't even a knock on Trump. The world has become so divided on both sides. I've seen it where everybody's just sort of blaming that other person. And that's why I try to avoid the politics, just because I don't want to push away one side or the other in the audience. But I don't disagree with what you're saying. And I guess I want to bring it also back to sort of the evilness of Meghan, which I know we all seem to be able to agree on. If there's one thing Biden and Trump supporters can agree on, I think they've all come to terms that Meghan Markle is evil. But does that, I wanted to ask and push that a bit harder because that's a big deal. Is that something that you could have actually gotten in discovery? Like I've heard you guys talking about deposing Catherine to try to get to that. Can you explain to the audience who's like, well, that's not relevant? How does that connect to the Samantha Markle case?
So one of the things we need to prove is malice. Okay, because Samantha is a public figure.
Right.
And when you speak publicly about a public figure, you have to, in order to be held accountable for it, you have to have malice. So what is malice? Malice is a bad feeling to somebody. It's evil. It's nastiness. It's whatever you want to basically call it. And one way of proving malice is simply prove that these people knew that they, or in this case, that Meghan Markle knew what she was doing, that she was saying something that's dishonest or just untruthful. But other ways of showing the malice is by showing what this person is involved in and that they have a method to their madness, where they are dishonest in the same way to other people, where they hurt other people, and they do the same thing to other people, which makes it what they do. Now, there's a rule 404 of the federal rules that make it so that you're not allowed to basically try somebody because of a propensity. In other words, just because somebody burned down 19 barns before doesn't necessarily mean that they burned down your barn. But if they burn down their barn by using a cigarette that they then have to light a fuse that then goes to some baling twine, and that baling twine then leads to something else. It's certain, in other words, if there's a signature to it or there's a method, then you're allowed to use these other acts, usually prior acts, that tend to prove that they did it in this case too. You can't do it just simply on the propensity. So the fact that she's a nasty person and lies all the time to a lot of other people doesn't necessarily mean that. Although lies are a different subject because it goes to her credibility as well in terms of her testimony.
So it does connect from a sort of credibility standpoint.
It connects from a credibility standpoint and from a malice point of view, and able to show that this is her method of saying these things when she's in a squeeze. When she thinks she's going to be criticized or whatever, that she's first to criticize and jump on somebody, and in a completely heartless way. This is what happens with people that don't have empathy. Meghan acts completely consistently with people that lack apathy. And that's why people have diagnosed her in different ways.
Well, and you did in the last, I think you got a lot of positive comments for how you called her last time. I agree with it on. I guess that's my sort of final thought of like so how do we prove that? Like I know you guys were really hoping for that discovery process, which would have opened up so many more doors and evidence and things that we were all hoping for. But it does seem like you guys are up against that. I don't want to say it's it's corrupt, but it's starting to feel pretty corrupt. I can't deny the feelings of how you guys sort of were just denied justice. What's next?
What you're saying there is a lot to unwrap, because I'm sitting here and I'm saying I have no evidence that the judge acted in this way. But you see, there's two things. One is justice must be done, but the saying is justice must not only be done, it must appear to be done. And this is where there's a problem, because there's such a large body of people who believe that justice was not done. There are people that believe that somebody got to the judge, somebody saved her so that her brother couldn't be deposed. Frankly, I don't think that makes any sense, because her brother's deposition wasn't going to be something that would have been that serious. But she needed to get rid of the suit. And is Samantha capable of doing something like using improper influence? Yes. But do I have any reason in the world to believe that Judge Honeywell would be receptive to this or accept it? Frankly, I don't. I don't think anybody has any such thing about Judge Honeywell. And the fact of the matter is that nevertheless, there's an appearance that people are picking up on that's maybe based in complete fallacy and just fiction, and probably is based on just fallacy and fiction. Every time we were in front of Judge Honeywell, she showed nothing but respect. Every time, to both sides. Every time we were in front of Judge Honeywell, things went well. But you see, there's people that question the fact that she got to be a senior judge just at that time. And they think that that's political. Not that I'm saying that it is, because I have no clue. It's not like I can pick up the phone and talk to Judge Honeywell and get her side of the story on whether this was done so somebody else could get a seat while President Biden's in a position to give those seats and so on and so forth. I can't get to the bottom of any of
Right.
this. And frankly, I'm not just saying this because I have an ethical obligation to not impugn the integrity of the court. But to be totally frank with you, there's no evidence. And you don't any more than we want Samantha to be held out the way Meghan has, and her Sussex squad has basically caused such harm to her in her life. We don't want to do that to the judge based on the fact that some people are able to put 2 and 2 together and get 16. Okay. As far as I'm concerned, Judge Honeywell is a decent and honest judge. I have no evidence to show otherwise. And just because it's a possibility doesn't mean that it is.
Well, I think that's a brilliant way for you to, I mean, I'm glad you're saying that, because it shows you aren't corrupt and you're not doing the job unfairly with your bias. So kudos to you saying that, even though I'll say it. It feels a little corrupt to me, but I understand why you can't, and I respect that. And that's why I think, that's why I try to avoid the politics on this, because it can easily go there, and I'm not trying to pick a side or the other. To me, it's just about justice. It shouldn't be about which person appointed the judge, right? That's what's so frustrating to me. Like, judges are supposed to be above that and like help us make those decisions. So it's frustrating to me as I look at what you guys are trying to do and what you guys are trying to prove, right or left or whatever. This doesn't feel like justice was served. Whether she got her case and she lost, then so be it. But you know what I mean? I'm just frustrated she didn't get her chance in the court of law. And I know Samantha is as well.
We're going to have our chance. We got 3 judges who are a higher level judge.
So let's end it positively. So yes, the appeal court, what is that process so people understand what's still in play?
Okay, well, they're going to be able to look at this, and I'm going to be able to say, you got to put them together. You can't look one time. And if these judges are of the mentality, they're going to look at it more, maybe a little bit more objectively in a way. Maybe they'll look at it from a different point of view. But if they put them together, they'll see that this libel, this slander, this smearing of Samantha to make her look like this terror. They basically called her like a leader of a hate squad, for God's sakes. I mean, this is, what is that going to do to incite and get the Sussex squad, one of the most hateful groups of people on the internet ever, by far, and that's what I'm talking about politically. I wasn't speaking so much, Trump versus others. What I'm really talking about is the Aspen Institute that Harry's a member of, where 50 people, of which he's one of the 50, decide what is misinformation on the internet.
Yeah, not okay. It's not okay.
What's that?
Yeah, it's not okay. I'm not okay with that. He should not be one of those people just making that decision. Exactly.
He comes over here and says that the First Amendment is bonkers. I mean, we already fought that war. We already said we're independent of the King and Queen of England. We have our own government for the people, by the people, not by somebody like Prince Harry, who thinks that he should be able to determine what we can say on the internet and what will be basically taken off. So nobody can, we lose our right to speech. We lose our right to speech. We lose our right to think, because all of our thoughts are basically concepts that are made out of words. And if we can't use our own words, we can't have our own thoughts, just as a matter of physical impracticability or impossibility.
Couldn't have said it better. We need to have that right, and we have this justice. And so I'm glad to hear there is now a form of appeal. You guys will be on top of that. From a timelines perspective, what can we look for next?
Well, we have about 30 days to file an initial brief. and then hopefully we'll make that 30 days count. We'll do it in that 30-day period. But if not, it will be, we'll get an extension. And so within 60 days, we'll have our initial brief, and then they'll file an answer brief, and these things they'll be public documents. And then there'll be a reply brief where we get the last word. We get the first word and the last word.
Good.
And ultimately, what's going to happen is then there'll be 3 judges in which we'll have a public hearing in front of. There won't be cameras, but it'll be a public hearing or oral argument, and with a panel of 3. And with that panel of 3, we're going to get a different result. We should not have gotten the result we got. It's the wrong answer. It's the wrong result. It's the result you can get totally logically if you just take each and everything that was said separately on its own, put them together, and you get a different result. And for some reason, this judge did not keep them together. And
we were
so
close. I thought she was going to see it. I'm disappointed she didn't, but I love that we're still fighting this. So guys, it's still happening. Don't lose faith. Let's see what happens. I hope you'll come back after that's been filed. Keep us updated. The audience is definitely invested, and we got Samantha's back on this. So thank you for all these updates. Wonderful to hear from you. Guys, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that bell for all alerts and smash that like button. I love having conversations with this, and Peter's great. He's keeping it honest, guys. And he's bringing it all out there. He's not afraid to do it. So I appreciate you, sir. Keep up the good work. Stay tuned, everybody. Thanks so much for watching here on Popcorn Palace. Stay 1 second, Peter.